Our second presentation is a subjective comparison of broadcast and unicast transmission impairments. Our speaker is Brahim Allan from British Telecommunications. He received the Bachelor of Engineering and Master of Science degrees in Telecommunications Engineering from King's College, London, United Kingdom, in 2007 and 2009, respectively. He joined the BT Research Center in 2011 as a researcher working in the Future Content and Application Services team. His research interests include ultra-high definition imaging, high dynamic range imaging, video analysis, and their evaluation. Please help me welcome Brahim to the podium.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, John. What I'm going to talk about today is a subjective comparison of broadcast and unicast transmission impairment. So, television services are delivered using two different delivery mechanisms, broadcast and unicast. And depending on the delivery mechanism, we get different transmissions impairment, which eventually provides a different visual experience to the viewer. So what we wanted to do is design subjective testing that actually allow us to answer two questions. So the first one is, do viewers have different tolerance to broadcast and unicast transmission impairments? And does the viewer tolerance of impairment depends on the display device? So what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to explain what these TV transmission impairments looks like, why we wanted to perform this subjective testing evaluation, talk about a little bit about the subjective test of transmission impairments, deep dive into the test content, the test methodology, and then look at the results. So we've carried two subjective tests, one with the adult and one with young students, and then I'll conclude. So what do TV impairments looks like? So three different delivery mechanisms. So we can deliver to the app via unicast, we can deliver to the set-top box via multicast, and again to the set-top box via broadcast. So the first one is, if you're delivering to the unicast, you may get a stall. So this is a pic where the video will stall and eventually resume where it's stopped. A dropout, where you actually miss a chunk. So when you resume relatively to live. So you miss piece of a content. And changing quality, so where you have to adapt back to low quality and resume back. And often it's simply because the segment did not arrive in time to the buffer. So the multicast, so it's basically multicast errors. So eventually is area of extreme colors or tearing of the image. And that is simply because red could not correct all the packets, and what you actually see on the screen is uncorrected packets. So why we wanted to do this? So we collect metrics from unicasts and multicasts. So for example, for unicast, we collect buffering time, play time, number of interrupts, so different metrics. On multicast, we correct how many packets have been corrected, how many packets could not be corrected by read and reread. So, but these metrics are not comparable. So we cannot compare. You cannot compare how many one interrupt or two interrupt is to three or three packet lost. So ultimately, what we wanted to do is develop a metrics that actually allow us to compare these to like an indexed. And what we thought of eventually, it's a MOS score, so which allows you to map a packet loss to a number of stalls that gives you an overall metric for the overall viewing viewer quality of experience. And we wanted to do this by obviously carrying a subjective test, gather some data, and eventually answer the question. Beyond that, we also wanted to answer a couple of questions. So first, can we quantify the viewer tolerance to different type of transmissions errors? Characterize the viewing engagement. So we asked them two questions. One is how annoying was the impairment, and the second question is it's really the desire to continue watching. So if this error kept happening, how many times they need to occur before you stop watching and do something else. And then look at the tolerance of this impairment on the TV and the tablet. But beyond that, we also had an interest on two things really. The first one, say, imagine you have a pot of money and you want to improve one particular delivery mechanism. Which one you will do first? Is it unicast or multicast? And secondly, with convergence, you might end up delivering the most popular content, for example, to tablet via broadcast, or less popular content to via unicast to TV. So you may end up seeing either of these impairments on both devices. So two subjective tests that actually complement to each other. So the first one was with 60 BT volunteers throughout a week. And the second test, it's actually called the British Science Week. It's an event we hold in BT research labs a week each year. This been on its second editions, and where we get students from local schools and we involve them in various activities just to show them the sort of stuff we do, and eventually get them involved in the subjective tests. So we've got our questions, we've got our requirements, we need to turn those into test conditions. So what we wanted to do is compare multicast transmission failures with unicast streaming impairments of stalling, quality variation, and consistent middle quality. And we wanted to show some viewers some content on the tablet, and then the same content to different viewers on the TV. So overall, we want to show multicast impairments, a unicast stall where the stall appears as a pause, and so the user eventually sees everything, but slightly delayed. A unicast stall that appears as a dropout, so you miss a chunk. So imagine this going through the tunnel and you resume relatively back to live. A unicast quality variation, so this is where we drop temporarily to low quality and resume to the top quality. And then consistent middle quality, it's not the lowest, it's not the best, but it's somewhere in the middle. A little bit about, so to do that we need some content, so we have to capture our own content, and it has to be live because we want it to be RET enabled. So we had two set-top boxes, one connected to the router, so basically unimpaired, and then we record the output of the set-top box. The second path, which is set-top box 2, which was connected to basically a Raspberry Pi, which run NetM, so it's just a network simulator that drops packet. And the idea there is to capture, that is specifically for the multicast, because that has to be RET enabled and connected to the live service. So we needed to set it to a number. We had to thought of a number there. So we know that our clips are anything between 10 and 20 seconds. So we wanted the packet loss to be present, but not after 20 seconds. So that was a number like 5%. But we didn't want them to be too often that it's really annoying. We know in advance, and we don't need to do subjective tests. And that was a number between 2 and 3. So 4 was somewhere in the middle. But you can run whole research projects on just trying to think what's the accurate number. We didn't want to be biased because you could obviously run various profiles. Do you want it to be bursty or concentrated burstiness? But say, okay, we'll do a randomized. So what we do is we set a box to record, say, a program, a football game, or a tennis match, and then we select interesting clips that had, relatively some packet loss, not too excessive, noticeable, but not too bad. And then once we're happy with that level of packet loss, there's some action there. We pick the representative unimpaired clip, and then we iterate through that process again and again until we have 20 source clips. It works. It's sort of tedious, but it works. So we selected 20 clips from 10 content genres. So we had a mixture. We had basketball, cricket, football, Formula 1, squash, rally. I wouldn't name it all, but a good mixture. So all the clips were varied. So we had some indoor, outdoor, nighttime scene, and they were about up to 20 seconds. A little bit about the test conditions. So this is about getting the timings right. So we have our multicast. Then we got 4 interrupt cases. This was from an analysis that we've done independently. So we've looked at the network, we looked at the average buffering time, number of interrupt, and we tried to map those to these test conditions. So For example, I wouldn't explain them though because I've got videos I'm going to point out shortly, but for example, for the interrupt, we play for 5 seconds, we pause for 4 seconds, and we resume. For 2 short stalls, we pause, we play for 3 seconds, we pause for 2 seconds, then we play back again for 5 seconds, and we pause for 2 seconds. So it's equal, basically. The 2 time short stalls are equal to a long one. But I've got a video here. Hopefully, the video should play fine. I've got maybe 2 or 3 clips to show. So, for example, this is an illustration of what a multicast error is.
Bowled him, choked it on. Stark, the main striker, back in. Much needed wicket for the Aussies.
It's a big one. Bairstow, he looked good.
That was a long stall, not sure, that's 2 short drops, so we're missing actually a chunk here. We should get some audio for some reason, but we got it on the first clip, but not on this one. It doesn't matter. At least it's playing. And I think we got one more, which is a quality drop. And then we resume to the top quality. Right, so those were our clips, and so what we had 7 impairments, 20 source clips. So if you do the total combination, that's about 140. We can't show all 140 because that goes about an hour and a half. So we've selected 60, of which 15 were multicasts. This is all about getting the playlist right, not being biased. So if we classify all our impairments into 4 classifications, so multicast, stalls, dropout, and lower quality, we get about equal distributions of 15 for each classification. Content genre-wise, they're fairly distributed. So what we've done, we've taken all these 6 text conditions and we split them over 5 playlists. And each playlist had 4 source clips, 3 impairments type per source clips, and 2 of the source clips were actually unimpaired. So yeah, we had 5 playlists, so each playlist was about 14 clips. So 2 tests. So we wanted, the reason we had 5 playlists is just to be scalable depending on the type of test we run. So on the first test, so we had slightly more time. We had about 30 minutes to do the whole lot. So what we do, we showed them 4 out of 5 playlists, sorry. So we compose the super playlist, think of it. So for example, if we're showing -A, that means we show B, C, D, E, and then we use A to do some training right at the start. So select some clips. And then we showed exactly the same super playlist, which is, for example, -A on the TV and on the tablet. For the student test, we had slightly less time. So we had about actually 6 minutes to do the test. So we can only show them 1 playlist. So what we've done is we pick 1 for the training, to select a couple clips for training. We pick 3 for the tablet, 1 for the TV. So we show them all 5 playlists. Little bit about the test methodology. So we've used absolute category rating, which is known as ACR with hidden reference. So they see 1 clip, they rate it, then the next clip, then they rate it. We ask them 2 questions at the end of each clip. So the first one is basically how annoying was the impairment. And the second one is, okay, if this error kept happening, how many times they need to occur before you stop and watch something else? So if it's really, really annoying, you expect a small number. If it's imperceptible, then we ask them put not applicable or 999. This is the environment. Basically, the picture on the left shows the setup for the TV test, and the picture on the right shows the setup for the tablets, and some information on the device we've used and the tablets that were used. Some stats on the adults. So we had 60 adults, 46 male, 14 female. The median age was about 45 years old. We had 16 aged 35 or younger, and 44 aged 35 or older. Again, try to get it balanced in the sense that we got equal number of subjects who did the test on the tablet and on the TV, and we had no subjects eliminated throughout the process. Some stats on the students. So 517 total, 42% were male, 58 female, 66% were aged 11 years old or younger. And again, almost equal distributions between the viewers that did the test on the TV and the tablet. Let's look at some results. So this acts as your primary results. So you see this type of graphs again and again for the next few slides. So what we're showing here on the x-axis, we represent all the impairments, including the reference. So this is basically unimpaired, very clean. And then 1 to 5 is actually your MOS score. So 1 represents very annoying, and 5 it's imperceptible. And what we immediately see that go back. What immediately see, the point here, that the interrupts are the worst type of impairment, either the TV or the tablet. So blue represents the adult on the tablet, and red, it's the TV viewers. On the tablet, multicast impairments are more annoying than degraded quality, possibly because smaller screen makes the quality reduction less noticeable. But on the TV, degraded quality is more annoying than multicast impairment, simply because probably the adults are used of seeing multicast on the TV, not necessarily on the tablet. So what can we conclude? We know that medium quality was not annoying on the tablet, but was slightly annoying on the TV. Multicast error were less annoying than quality drops on the TV, but the reverse is true. Interrupts are the most annoying, regardless whether it's on the TV or on the tablet. Dropouts are more annoying than stalls, simply because people do not want to miss the action. And two short interrupts are more annoying than a single long one, even though the duration is the same, and that's an interesting on its own. So this is looking at the effect of age. So among the adult population, we group them by 34 and under and 35 and over on the tablet, as shown on the graph on the left, sorry, and then the same representation but on the TV. And this is quite interesting, because what we see that the younger adults are more sensitive on the tablet than actually do on the TV. But on the when we look at the TV impairment, we see that the older ones are more sensitive of the impairment on the TV than they do on the tablet. So this is look at the effect of gender, not a clear cut as the age, simply because statistical significance is not achieved. But what we could see is there is a trend here. We can only say there is a trend, in a sense that the male were more critical across all the impairments, both on both devices, except for quality degradation on the TV, where the female were more sensitive. So this is now looking at the students. Again, we see a similar trend to what we observed with the adults, so it's nothing new, really. So we observe that the interrupt, again, are the worst type of impairment, both on the TV and the tablets. The quality degradation is less annoying on the tablet than on the TV, as you can see here. And multicast errors are approximately equally annoying on both devices. So this is looking. Okay, so let's look at all the population. So let's look at the adult and the student. So the blue represents the adults, red is the students, and green is everyone. And we look at them on the tablet and on. So first is the tablets. So again, there's a general trend, in a sense that similar order of annoyance, both for the student and the adult, where quality drop is the least annoying and too short drops is the worst annoying. And then we say, okay, let's look at these by age groups. So we bucketed them by their age. And we see a trend that viewers of all age are equally annoyed by multicast errors and quality drops. And medium quality here. So they're about the same. And interestingly, the interruption becomes more annoying as we increase the age. And we couldn't deduct any specific pattern for quality drop. So we now take the same representation and look at it on the TV. Again, similar trend of similar order of annoyance for the adult and the students, except some differences here on the tablet. So what do we see? We see that the adult found quality drops more annoying than multicast errors, and the student found medium quality less annoying than multicast errors and quality drops. But again, there is some sort of trend for the older viewers, as you can be able to see here on the graph on the right. So the older found more there were more tolerance of multicast errors here, less tolerance of medium quality, and as we increased the age, they were less tolerant for the interrupts on the TV. So that was everything to do with the first question, so measuring and quantifying the level of annoyance. Now we look at the second question. So this is the desire to continue watching despite the occurrence of the errors. So we say, okay, we ask them questions that if you were, how many times the impairment could occur in a 60-minute before you would stop and do something else? Basically, you disengage. So getting a measure of frustration, disengagement. If the viewer will not stop, so they record the value of not applicable or 999. And then what we do is we take all these scores, we rank them. So for the adult, we rank them 1 to 56. Why? Because we showed them 56 clips. And the students, we rank them 1 to 14, simply because we showed them 14 clips. Then the idea is to compare these results with the first question, which is the annoyance scores. So we wanted a sense of opinion scores, so we converted the ranking into opinion scores using the following formula. It's basically just reverting the ranks and then doing a mean opinion score from the opinion scores. What we've observed is that nearly almost all the adults answered the second question, whereas the student had some difficulties to answer this, the second question. Why? Maybe just probably disengaging from the question, or just complexity to understand it. So that was the result. So again, similar trend for the annoyance opinion scores, in a sense that the adult are more tolerant than the student on multicast on the TV. Equally, for the student and the adult, the impairment were the worst. However, the adult distinguish the type of impairment much more than the student. Is it whether it's a long stall, or 2 short stalls, whether it's a long drop or 2 short drops. So they were able to distinguish more. The adult and the student have similar opinion for quality drops, and medium quality is more annoying on the TV than it is on a tablet. So, okay, so what do we conclude here? So it's a large-scale subjective test. So we did it with 60 viewers aged 18 and over, 570 young students under the age of 17. We showed them content impaired with multicast error, interruptions and quality degradation on the tablet and on the TV. What we found? We found that among all the population, we got consistent results. It's not like there was some surprise. The interruptions are the most annoying impairment we tested, where multiple short interruptions are more annoying than a single one, even though it was the same duration. And it got even more annoying when the content was missing, so when it was a dropout. After actually we've done the test, we had an interesting comment where people say, okay, actually could you include it where it's a dropout and the audio keeps playing. So that was an interesting observation. Quality degradation are more annoying on the TV than on a tablet, possibly because they're more visible. Quality drops are more annoying than multicast error on the TV, but reverse is true on the tablets. Among the adult population, the younger one were more sensitive on the tablet than actually and the adult were more sensitive of the impairment on the TV. And when we compare the students and the adults, similar results again in terms of the annoyance scores, which means probably it's age dependent, all these impairments. And then when we compare the annoyance with the desire to continue watching, we got similar more scores. I hope this was useful. I tried to explain the experiment, because here you got the effect of statistics and how you design your test conditions, but hopefully it was useful and informative. But thank you very much.
So we do have a few minutes for questions, so please come to the microphone and please identify yourself.
Hi there, Mark Harrison from the DPP. Dead interesting. I guess the thing that's very hard for you to replicate in experimental conditions is motivation.
Yeah.
Because I think we all know, just subjectively from our own experience and talking to others, that that's hugely influential in our degree of annoyance. If my favourite football team has just scored a goal and I'm on the move somewhere and I can get to see it at any kind of quality at all, with buffering, that's fine, because I just want to see that goal.
Yes.
If I'm watching, a World Cup match on my UHD TV, then there is, in my living room, there's zero tolerance for it. Yeah. So, can you think of any way of building motivation into your model?
Yeah, that is, I mean, you're right, absolutely. And we thought of that. It is difficult. One way of possibly doing it is you dynamically, so when we do the test, we ask them questions right at the start, which I haven't shown the results here, but I think they're on the paper. Which is your most popular content? Which most popular type of sports? How often do you watch content on a TV, on a tablet, on a mobile screen, on a computer? So we've gathered some stats right at the start before they do the test. If this is a way you could actually take these stats and dynamically create your playlist based on their initial thought, is a way of actually probably being more accurate here.
Yeah, that's true. If you could show me entirely Manchester United clips, I would give you very good feedback.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's all right. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Hi, thank you. Glenn Reitmeyer, NBC Universal. I'd just like to know if you could comment on the screen size and viewing distance that we used for both the TV and the tablet, and how the visual angle and perceptibility changed between those two different viewing environments.
Yes, I think I should have explained. I was just worried in terms of timing, but let's remind ourselves here. So, TV, we've used the Samsung KS9500. We had 4 rows. So the first row, so the BBC did a survey back in 2014, where they found that the average viewing distance in UK was about 2.4 meters. Yeah. So we've used that, but that was pretty much for the first row. The tablet-wise, so we've had the Samsung Galaxy Tab S2, which is a 10-inch. We had 8 of them in a table, and the average, the distance was about 30 centimeters.
I can't help but notice that there's a large variation in viewing distance in the audience setup on the TV, but a very consistent viewing distance in the case of the tablet. So that might warrant some additional analysis for you.
True. Yes. Yeah. The data is there, and we could certainly look at that as well. Yeah.
And my second question is: did you do anything with measuring the impact and effect of audio dropouts and errors?
Good questions. No, we didn't. As I said, no, we haven't. No, we haven't done that. Thank you very much. This is another thought.
Our subjective experience is the audio loss is even more annoying than video loss.
So I guess that could be like a third question, with relative to the audio, which is again part of the video clip, isn't it? So thank you. That's
great. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Brahim, very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please tap the like button and also subscribe to our channel to receive notifications when we add new content. For more information about us, please visit SMPTE.org. We'll see you next time.